Hey folks, Scott Travis here with another Scott Travis Sports News Update. Tonight I'm going to be talking about what happened with the U.S. Men's Olympic Hockey Tournament. I'm also going to quickly comment on what happened with the women's. It was unfortunate. But anyway, I just want to let you know, as usual, this update is sponsored by Herb Travis Handyman Services, serving all of Rhode Island. Check out his work at herbtravishandyman.com. Give him a call, 401-465-2658. All right, what happened, folks? U.S. looked good in the early rounds going into the medal round. We had beaten Slovakia, Slovenia, Czech Republic. We looked pretty good. Looked like we had a good team. Looked like everything looked fine. But then, as what happens with a Dan Bilesma team, and you Penguin fans will remember this, Claude Julien was on the Team Canada side coaching. So we run into Canada, and as a Bruin fan, I know the Claude Julien system, and the Canadians pulled that off like nobody's business. They shut down the Americans. They didn't give up anything to the slot. Besides Bacchus, there really were no Americans willing to go to the net. And, Canada ends up shutting us out and kind of kills our spirit. And that leads into the next day where we compete with Finland for a period, get down 3-0 and quit. And that was kind of disgraceful. I think anybody that plays hockey in the USA would have played a little bit harder in that bronze medal game against Finland. But that's beside the point. Anyway, I just have a couple of thoughts on what I think they need to do. I think the big ice surface definitely hurt them, but it made people like Phil Kessel look like a star, like when he was on the Bruins, and then he would disappear in the postseason. So he was great with the open play and up and down and teams playing like that. But when you run into Claude Julien's defensive system, defensive first, that's why the Canadians were really good the whole series. They didn't lose a game all the way through, winning every single game. Nobody really could compete. But I thought the U.S. had a roster that could have contended. I really did, and they certainly showed that in the pool play leading up to the tournament. But anyway, disappointing that Bilesma didn't make any adjustments to how the U.S. was doing anything. They should have gotten more traffic in front of Price. Not impressive. Everything was kept to the perimeter. We didn't have enough guys to go to the net. So that was disappointing, and then, like I said, the Finland no-show, that kind of calls into question the heart of who the guys were. I'm sure they were disappointed, but you saw how Finland reacted, and Teemu Selanne and those guys, how excited they were. They realized it's an Olympic medal, whether it's just bronze and you think you should have won the gold, you didn't deserve it. Canada was the best team, and they certainly beat you, and you really weren't in that game. So I think moving forward, Team USA needs to look back. NHL Network actually showed a video of the '96 World Cup final, and that was U.S. and Canada, and the keys to that game. And these were two of the best teams of all times, folks. This was Canada. They had Gretzky, they had Messier, they had Lindros, they had Brind'Amour, they had Theo Fleury, they had, all guys like that, Adam Graves, they had Joseph was in net, Marty Brodeur was the backup goaltender. I mean, that's how loaded Canada was. Granted, they didn't have Ray Bourque, which would have been a difference because they ended up having Lyle Oderline. I'm sure the U.S. was happy to see him. But they had Scott Stevens. They had Scott Niedermayer, one of the biggest winners of all times. I mean, Canada was loaded in that '96 series. Now, the reason U.S. ended up winning it, and they actually won it at the end with a couple of goals, 5-2, but the reason they won was they had some big guys. Sure, they had Pat LaFontaine, they had Brett Hull, they had guys who could score, they had Mike Modano, but they also had Bill Guerin, they also had Big Joe Otto from Calgary, they had Tony Amonte, they had guys, Big John LeClaire was a force in that. So they had the players, and they had the two big Hatcher brothers who could play hard. They had Chris Chelios on defense. That U.S. team could play Canada tough, and I think that's what this year's Olympic team did not have. I don't think they had the tough enough defensemen. I think they got caught with too many young guys. Fowler, Orpik was certainly lost on the big ice surface. I mean, the roster wasn't put together right. There were too many young defensemen that were not experienced enough for that kind of a situation where the game is going to be on the line, playing a team like that. So I think the roster was put together poorly, and I also think there were no coaching adjustments. Bilesma didn't shake up the lines. They didn't change what they were doing. There's a lot of question marks there. So I would hope to say, like I said, I saw the Bruins do that to the Penguins when he was coaching the Penguins, Claude coaching the Bruins. We just shut them down. We outscored them 12-2 and swept them in the Eastern Conference Finals. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't want Dan Bilesma coaching any team that I remember rooting for ever again. I can tell you that much. So maybe turn it over to Laviolette, who won a Calder Cup with Providence, where I'm from, in 98, 99. Also won a Stanley Cup with the Carolina Hurricanes in 2006. Kind of got a raw deal in Philly. I think that was more of a roster thing. And in Sochi here, he was just an assistant. I think either him or the coach from the 96 team bring him back. He maybe didn't have the most success in the National Hockey League, but Ron Wilson had that team playing some good hockey in 96. If you don't get it, if you haven't seen the game, look it up. The deciding game, it's in Montreal, 1996 World Cup of Hockey. One of the best games ever. Like I said, two of the greatest teams ever. Both teams loaded with Hall of Famers. I threw some names out. Brendan Shanahan's another one on Canada. Brian Leach on the U.S. I mean, loaded. Steve Yzerman. I mean, guys on both teams. Anyway, that's what I think we need to do. I think we need to get back to toughness. The big ice surface definitely hurt us. As someone who watches pretty much every NHL game, I know as a fan, it was even tough for me knowing the players to even follow it on television. I hope they don't do that big size again. It's not good, especially if they're going to try and attract casual fans. But the ice surface also really didn't help the U.S. either. So it's up, whatever it is. It is what it is. You've got to build a team for the surface, depending on what it is. I don't know if they're even going to send the players to South Korea, or maybe we're dealing about international hockey in a World Cup again, which would be great. I think that's the best thing. It's before the season. The NHL doesn't have to shut down during February. So that's my thoughts on all of that. I hope we look at what we did for mistakes, coaching-wise, roster building-wise. Obviously, Canada is always going to be the favorite. They could enter 2 or 3 teams and probably get at least 2 of them a medal. So they're always going to be a thorn on our side. Russia played as good a game as I've seen them play against the United States. But still, I think you got too many superstars and not enough grit. Besides a Pavel Datsyuk and guys like that who know defensive hockey, the rest of the guys are just high flyers. So I think it's always going to be between the U.S. and Canada. Obviously, Sweden was right in the mix, and Finland made us look like idiots. So I think, basically fix what we did, change the coaching staff, take a look at the 96 film USA Hockey, and that's the kind of team you want to build if you expect to play Canada sometime in the medal round for the gold medal. That's all I got to say on that. I know I went long on this, folks, but I just had a lot to say. It was really upsetting. It took me several days to process. I had to watch the games over and over just to figure out exactly what the heck went wrong. So that's what I have to say. Don't forget, if you're a New England sports fan, my main page is Scott Travis Sports News on Facebook. You can Google me. It comes up on YouTube. It comes up on Twitter. I'm at Scott Travis SN. So thank you for watching. I hope you follow me from now on. Don't forget, Bruins fans, they're back in action tomorrow night in Buffalo at 7:30. I'll be giving you a preview for them. Thank you for watching. I'm Scott Travis. I'll be talking to you soon.